going on YouTube? So today I want to do my Oklahoma State TCU preview. So yesterday I did my Florida State Clemson, and I'm hoping later today I'll be able to do the Alabama LSU. So go ahead and start with my 3 keys for Oklahoma State to win. Like I said yesterday, I think if each team does these 3 things, then they'll win. So go ahead and start. Wreak havoc in the backfield and make Boykin turnover happy. So if you watch the TCU Oklahoma State game from 2 years ago, granted this was before Boykin had his breakout year in 2014, Boykin turned over the ball multiple times, and you know what? They were really never able to get an offensive rhythm. I think they scored, 7 of their points were either on defense or special teams, but if they can get pressure on Boykin, make sure that he doesn't escape the pocket, limit his athleticism, and obviously the corner's got to play good one-on-one coverage against Doxson and Cavante Turpin. But you know what? If they're able to get him uncomfortable in the backfield and the home field advantage does its job, then I think that's a big, big key for Oklahoma State. Next one is get Raymond Taylor the ball. So if you watched the Texas Tech game last week, Raymond Taylor just looked like a little bowling ball out there. He was the running back that Oklahoma State needs right now, one that can scrap for the extra yards, even though the offensive line isn't playing very well. Not a great runner in open space, but definitely will get the extra yards when they're needed. Guys like Chris Carson, who can make people miss when it's just one person or has elusive moves, but can't break too many tackles, like inside. Rennie Childs, a one-cut back, and then Jeff Carr, another one-cut back, but a lot faster in open space, can make people miss. Those three backs have running. Oh my God, I can't even talk. Those 3 running back styles do not mesh well with having no offensive line. Granted, it's hard to think of a running back style that meshes with having no offensive line, but Raymond Taylor is that style, and if they can get him the ball, if he can get some good looks, I'd say maybe 10 or 15 carries alone, then I think that'll help him move the ball a lot better on first down. So move on to my third one, which is having Mason Rudolph stay confident. I think this is the biggest key on offense for Oklahoma State. Whenever Mason Rudolph's been on the road, it just looks like he's not as confident. The Tech game, it got better as it went along. I'd say the Tech game was the best one out of their big road games between West Virginia, Texas, and Texas Tech. But against Texas, it was just awful. He threw 2 picks that looked terrible in the second half after the ball just fell out of his hand in the first half. That also did happen again against Texas Tech, but it ended up not hurting him, which was pretty lucky. But then he also threw quite a few picks against West Virginia, and the defense kind of had to bail him out both times. So yeah, as long as Mason Rudolph stays confident, which has not been a problem at home. When they played Kansas State at home, even though it was a close game, Mason Rudolph threw for like 450 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he's a much different quarterback at home from what it looks like so far this year, and that could be a huge key for Oklahoma State. So move on to TCU. So their keys are pretty simple. Obviously they're getting a lot of their defensive injuries back, and that's a big thing for them because if you guys saw a couple games into the season, their defense was not looking good. They were getting thrashed. Tech put up a ton of points on them. They were able to hold Texas, but Texas is a team you never know what you're going to get out of them. Trying to think of a few other teams. West Virginia was able to put up a decent amount of points on them. SMU, there's a few other examples. But anyway, for TCU, they have to force turnovers early, and this just goes back to the whole Mason Rudolph being confident thing. If TCU can force a few turnovers early and cause the same mistakes that Oklahoma State has been making at some points this season and actually take advantage of them, that'll be a big, big key to winning for them. Second one is get Cavante Turpin and Aaron Green involved adequately. If they start looking solely towards Josh Doxson, I think the Oklahoma State defense is good enough, especially at home. They do have one of the better corners in the Big Ten, Kevin Peterson. So I think even though there's a decent height mismatch there, it might be a couple inches, but I think that Peterson is honestly able to take on Doxson one-on-one about as good as any corner in all the Big 12. And, Kevin Peterson, I always throw it back to the example last year against West Virginia. They played against Kevin White, and he shut down Kevin White, the best receiver in the Big 12, maybe the best receiver in the country last year. So, like I said, if they get Turpin and Aaron Green involved, and there's a lot of things the defense has to focus on, and that might just be a little bit too much for the OSU defense. And then last one is don't get complacent. So, last week against Texas Tech, Oklahoma State was down by 17 a few times. and they were able to come back. And I feel like that's just some of Texas Tech letting off the gas a little bit. Granted, it's hard to say you let off the gas when you still scored 53. 53. But you know what? If TCU is able to take advantage of some of the mistakes that OSU has made this year, and they make them again, and like I said, TCU is able to just take advantage of them and put up a lot of points. Don't let Oklahoma State stick around for a long time, and play to the level that TCU can play that we've seen in the recent weeks and we saw last year. Then it's hard to see really not just Oklahoma State but any team beating them. But those are my 3 keys for both teams. So coming down to my prediction, I think this game, I'll basically say if TCU had the game at home, I'd predict them 10 times out of 10. Oklahoma State has the game at home, so I'd pick them 8 times out of 10. That's just the way it goes. I think Oklahoma State's a much better team at home. I think TCU has a tough time playing in Stillwater, and they haven't won in Stillwater since 1991. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think Oklahoma State is going to be able to pull off the upset and hand TCU its first loss of the year. Oklahoma State is a different team in Stillwater. It's weird. I don't know how the rest of the season is going to go for the Big 12, but I think that it's going to be a good start for Oklahoma State, and they're going to insert themselves into playoff contention. And you know what? I don't know if having a one-loss TCU team would knock them out of the playoff, but I do think that Oklahoma State is going to win this game. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my Oklahoma State TCU preview. I'm hoping I'll come back later today with the LSU Alabama preview. And that'll cover my 3 individual game previews for the week. And yeah, that's pretty much it. See ya.